But part of the evolution and part of the, it's funny because I can't, if I try to put words to what I just saw, it's going to get way too confusing. That gets tricky because, again, it comes down to words and giving somebody time in our linear way of living to show, are they living those words or are they full of shit? And we happen to live now in this unprecedented world of it's just about what you seem on the surface. Don't worry, nobody's giving any time to the depth. All you gotta worry about is the surface, man. That's it. And what's happening right now is we kind of got away with that collectively in this beautiful way. All that has to allow all that's happening to just be. There is no right or wrong. But we're at this place where that veil has sort of been removed, where, I mean, if you learn how to connect to love, it becomes so glaringly obvious when something is not love. That's kind of how my world is in the most general frequency. It's either love or it's not love. And I've got so many options to choose love that really I'm not taking any more chances that I consciously, the chances I take when I feel something that's not love are getting less and less. And that has to do with the potential of not love becoming love. And again, on its most general level, my relationship, this 5.5-year relationship, was a ginormous lesson of love and not love. And words being one thing, and actions and energy being completely different. Mixed in with real life shit, like home ownership, and fucking living animals, and vehicles, and jobs. Like, big decisions were made based on words. And really a denying of what my heart said, and struggling with this idea of, is that judgment? Because I never want to be in judgment of anybody. I am never intending judgment. But there's such a fine line with just pointing out the way something is. And I get it. Different people absolutely can perceive and experience the same thing in completely different ways, and each one represents that individual's truth. But there are certain realities of 3D world that you can't make up. 2 + 2 does not equal 5. 2 + 2 = 4. But then you add in that we have now evolved to this beautiful level of crazy where anything goes. Where metaphorically, we are being told 2 + 2 is 5 in a lot of ways. And 2 + 2 is 5 has now become not only something people talk about, and again, if you follow the metaphor, examples of, what? You're completely changing the rules. Like, how, what? I mean, folks, this has gone all the way up through our political systems, our religious institutions, and our biggest corporations. Pretty amazing shit that really just boils down to them changing the rules, whoever them is, whoever's in charge. And so now it's such a beautiful thing because that is really the greater truth. Anything really does go. Oh fuck, that's another, so many tangents. I wanted to capture a little bit of Traverse City. This upcoming, the rest of my Ironman season, the rest of the next 2.5 months, 2 months, almost 3 full months till Thanksgiving. On the physical level, which then is intricately related to the mental level, this upcoming almost 3-month period, it will represent the most challenging thing I've ever lived through. And oh my gosh, dude, definitely am not intending to create these sorts of challenges for myself any longer. But obviously, my energetic momentum, because it was so deeply ingrained in push, 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 in big achievements and big challenges, it was going to take a while for me to get at the core of my frequency to send out a different message to the universe, which is, oh man, just living is enough of a challenge in and of itself. I'm not interested. Those challenges served me really well, but they no longer serve me. I'm not interested in pushing myself. I really am interested in being pulled and having a light and happy and not this heavy dramatic life. I mean, I'm really interested in a life that's kind of completely different than what I was living. And I decided this at 35 years old, consciously, really consciously, and it has taken, I mean, we are now in, I would say almost a decade, because I really, if I pull out my journal at the beginning of 2009, that's when I was really waving the white flag going, okay, I am lost, I am miserable, I'm confused, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing in my life, and this just doesn't make sense. I'm waving the white flag, universe, this is the year. I don't know how, I don't know where, what, how, any of it, but I need to figure this shit out. I need to shake some shit up. This is not working for me, and I've got too much to offer to piss it away in my own drama and my own lostness. So 2008, it's really been a decade. But then it was another step when, instead of going to teach English in China, I chose to go home to Michigan to live for the first time in 2010, which was after a trip to Japan, which was pretty significant for me. And then I moved to Seattle. And then I had to leave Microsoft for a 3-month period, and I had every intention to go back to my job at Microsoft. Came to Florida for that mandatory 3-month period, and everything fucking changed. I did not get back on the plane, so then the next point was October 14th. Big, what happened that day. That's when I landed specifically back in Sarasota. November 30th would be the next huge thing, the launching officially of my company. The next would be March, seeing Krishna Das. A horrendous trip home to Michigan immediately after Krishna Das. Horrendous trip home. The only reason I kept that booking was because my grandmother, my last living grandparent, and I didn't have a relationship with any of my grandparents, what I would call a relationship with any of my grandparents. She was dying, my dad's mother, and proceeded to have the best conversation, pretty much the only conversation I've ever had with her, was the last one. She died May 6th, which there's a story behind that. And then later that month would be the next really big step in things. And we've been really on since then. I had the primary piece, I brought it down to what it needed to be brought down to, which was just me. Just me. I am wired as a team player, so I really resist solo stuff. I don't mind it, and I excel at things that I've focused on as a solo. But I prefer teams. I prefer working together with others consciously in this expanding way where we clearly have different roles and we're all equally valued and everybody is coming to the table agreeing to play, agreeing to whatever the exchange is and however that exchange is happening. Least of which, the dollar. And I'm not going to go off on the dollar tangent, although it's a big one and an important one. So it's Labor Day, and in general I'm being called to redefine. It's not to redefine work. It's just to add a definition that doesn't presently exist. And that's kind of ironic and interesting, because I really, on a greater level, I'm preaching, if you will, not preaching, but kind of advising to lose definitions, lose these categories, lose the separateness, which is also true. But simultaneously, that's what makes it part of this insane challenge. Simultaneously, it's acknowledging that we're not going to get to something 180 degrees different overnight. So you kind of got to baby step it. So let's begin by, and it's not altering the definition, it's really just making a definition of everything more expansive. Whatever the definition is, expand it to its next level, whatever that means. So in this case, the definition of work. And it's Labor Day. And it's kind of, so as soon as I turned the camera on, I realized that, oh yeah, I wanted to read the 13 moon calendar, which I started following when I moved to Michigan. Really took it up a notch. For the first full year I followed it was starting on July 25th, 2011, which happened to coincide with my first day at Microsoft, which at the time was not lost on me. Shit. Microsoft fell in my lap, Ironman fell in my lap, and I forgot, I still haven't closed off the loop of how USF basketball fell in my lap. And how USF basketball was my whopping punch down into life of out of the gate, without all the, I was in the big leagues, and I don't know how I got there. I mean, that was spirit placing me there. As on the physical level, I was not ready. I was not ready to handle the energy of what a Division I sport, but especially one where I'm the least, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I had played soccer or softball, I'm telling you, it would have been different. I'm not only going into I'm not even 5 feet tall. So that was my first, when I had my awakening, that was the first glaring thing to me where it's like, oh my God. Like, that definitely was my soul's plan, spirit, God guiding me. There was not a part of me that thought I was going to get a full ride academically or athletically, and then I ended up getting a full ride athletically, giving that up and getting one academically, and then getting it again as a graduate student. Like, I had zero expectation of that. Zero when I was a senior in high school, honestly. I mean, of course, I signed my athletic scholarship in November of my senior year, so most of my senior year which contributed to why I blew off physics and calculus, even though I look back now and I'm like, damn, I love numbers. I've always loved math. Science I needed to experience hands-on, and so I remember really liking biology and earth science, but with something like physics, I couldn't grasp it, and I just, quite frankly, was burned out. Because by the end of high school, I didn't give a flying fuck about grades, man. I felt like I had to, and that made me even more miserable, because it just became so uninspiring, that mode of education and the entire academic process. The athletics were outstanding. I wish I would have been able to do only athletics and just learn academically in my own way. Had that been an option, I would have pounced on it, but it wasn't. I think it's just important that I get, again, I want to state, if I can get 4 minutes of something strung together, ideally 4 minutes in a row, but even if it's just 2 minutes, although that's pretty short, from these videos, and just, I got to express the energy, I got to get comfortable with me, I need to, if I feel that particular minimal frequency level, vibration level of making it public, I need to follow that, and I know hardly anybody's watching right now, and it's just so amazing how intense it still is when you put yourself out there. But I can't deny that I am intended to put myself out there. I can't. My capabilities are I can't wait, like I have too much capability. But the systems that exist in the mainstream world couldn't even come close to allowing me my unique capabilities. I had to create it on my own. And oh my God, multiple ideas are a lot closer to being ready than I think even I realize. And the time has come to ultra focus, and that will come after this travel season. But in between now and Thanksgiving, when I will have a month plus with very little to do, and really allow this energy to flow through me. In the meantime, I have got the most challenging physical and mental journey ahead of me. And we're gonna go ahead and say I'm in it now, because I was just out of town